We're talking about Sam Elliott. Then you got to meet the cowboy, Joe Johnston. Now we got this next hombre. Andrew H. Marshall, a combat wounded Vietnam War veteran, dedicated advocate for veterans in his distinguished career, both in military service and with the Disabled American Veterans, DAV. His leadership and advocacy has left an indescribable mark on the veteran community. Military service and accomplishments. Marshall served as an airborne infantry in the Americal Division in Khe Sanh Valley during the Vietnam War. In December 1970, he was injured by friendly fire while engaged in combat. After recovering, he was assigned to the 173rd Airborne Brigade. In January 1971, he stepped on as an improvised booby trap during a patrol, resulting in severe injuries to his lower extremities, including his amputation of 2 toes and extensive damage to his left leg. He spent 15 months recovering at Walter Reed Army Medical Center before becoming medically retired from the Army. His valor in service, Marshall received numerous prestigious awards: Bronze Star Medal, Purple Heart with Oak Leaf Cluster, Army Commendation Medal with the V device. Career with the DAV, Marshall dedicated over 41 years to DAV, holding various leadership roles. Served as a National Service Officer Supervisor in St. Petersburg, Florida. Become one of the DAV's first national area supervisors. Held multiple leadership positions, including Judge Advocate for the Department of Maryland and past Department Commander for DAV of Florida. Currently, he serves as Executive Director for DAV Florida and is Adjutant and Treasurer in Chapter 4 in Tampa, where he has been a member since 1975. During his tenure, Marshall achieved significant milestones. 1, advocating for a policy change to the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, for granted multiple clothing allowances for amputees for severely disabled veterans. 2, testify before Congress on DAV's legislative priorities, including advocating for landmark legislation like the PACT Act, ladies and gentlemen. Leadership as a national commander. In August 2021, Marshall was unanimously elected as national commander of the DAV in the National Convention. During his tenure in 2022, he led over 1 million members through challenging times navigating the post-COVID landscape. His leader emphasized protecting veterans' benefits, securing legislative victories, and ensuring all veterans' voices were heard. Current roles: DAV Department of National Florida State Adjutant and Treasurer. As of August 2023, Marshall serves as President of DAV National Service Foundation, NSF, continued to commitment to empowering veterans. Marshall resides in Palm Bay Harbor, Florida with his wife Susan. His life exemplifies dedication to service, both in uniform through the decades, and tireless advocacy for his veterans. Please join me in welcoming, still continuing to serve our veterans, our DAV Florida State Department Adjutant and Executive Director, Andrew Marshall. The floor is yours, sir.
You know, Joe, commemorative coins. People have commemorative coins. My favorite is a Medal of Honor coin from Gary. It's great to see this many in the community come out to an event like this, specifically honoring Vietnam veterans. It fills my heart with joy. I have never been in any room, anywhere, where there have been that many people here to welcome home Vietnam veterans. Never. Commander and you and your staff did a great job arranging this, putting this together, getting the caterers to do that for free. The volunteers you have here, it's pretty amazing. But it's an honor to be here among our fellow veterans, their families, and their community as we pay tribute to those who served in Vietnam. As a combat wounded veteran myself, nights like this hold special significance for me. I served as an airborne infantryman with Americal Division in Khe Sanh Valley in 1970, and like so many others who served in that war, my experiences were life-changing. I was injured twice, once by friendly fire when a gunship discharged its rocket too soon, resulting in a concussion. And again, when I served with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, when I stepped on a booby trap, what they now call improvised explosive device, IEDs. Back then, we just called them booby traps. Right? After my medical retirement from the military, I went back to my hometown in Huntington, West Virginia, and I was contacted by the DAV and offered a job. I had probably a dozen job interviews back then, and none of them would hire me because I could not pass a physical, right, because of wounds received in Vietnam. But the DAV, that's the only people they hired, ill and injured veterans, to serve as veterans advocates. Now, I've done this since 1975, and when you're getting old, you count your accomplishments in decades rather than years and months. But I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather spend my life doing than serving veterans and their families. Serving my fellow veterans through the mission of DAV at the chapter, department, and national levels, I've seen firsthand that incredible impact we have when we all stand together. During this time, I have proudly advocated for my fellow veterans before the VA and fought to help them access the benefits and services they earned. Right? Shortly after I began my career with DAV, there was a book DAV provided the funding for a study on post-traumatic stress disorder. It was called the Forgotten Warrior Project by Dr. Williams. He was a Cleveland State University professor. Right? By that book, DAV began dealing with PTSD, advocating that this is a real disability. Right? The community didn't believe it. Doctors didn't believe it. It used to be called shell shock, but some of you may have heard, or combat neurosis, brief combat neurosis. Right? Now it changed to post-traumatic stress disorder. And out of that came one of the VA's best initiatives ever, was the creation of the vet centers, where they provided counseling for combat injured veterans, right, off the VA grounds. They were not on VA properties, and then they realized they had more than combat veterans involved, and so they increased it to MST, spousal issues, etc., family issues. So the DAV was actually responsible for creation of the vet centers. Right? And when I was working at the vet center as a DAV employee, I was assigned to one, and I would go out across the state of Florida and educate doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers on PTSD, and set up group therapy for Vietnam veterans. That's when I met an individual whose name was Tom at the vet center. Tom was a Marine Corps combat injured veteran who struggled with his demons over the years since his discharge from Vietnam. He had PTSD. He finally found a job after a little over a year as a police officer. Right? Unfortunately, his demons got the best of him, and he could not function any longer as a police officer, right? And was fired, right? He is unable to perform those duties. He himself says, I should not be out here with a weapon, right? So, unfortunately, the VA denied his claim for post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's how I met him at the vet center. Tom was susceptible to self-harm because he would actually tell his counselor that. And he told me that. So we met with his counselor. And what helped Tom the most, besides the treatment, all right, he received from the vet center, was the fact that finally VA acknowledged that he actually did suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? And now, instead of being unemployed and on the verge of homelessness, he now had income that he never had before. Right? And he also had something he never had before, and that was access to VA's health care. Because he did not have a service-connected disability, was not entitled. That's why he went to the vet center. So throughout my career with the DAV, whether it was leading DAV's National Service Office at Bay Pines, Florida, working to change VA policy for multiple clothing allowances and establishment of the benefit of the DAV rule, serving as National Commander, I met many veterans like Tom. And my mission has always been to ensure that no veteran is left behind. And that's why we're here tonight. The men and women of Vietnam know what it means to sacrifice. We know what it means to return home to a country that wasn't always ready to welcome us back. But despite the challenges we faced, we lifted each other up. We built families. We built strong families. We contributed to our community. And we stood together ensuring that veterans who came after us would have the recognition and support they deserve. That's what makes this event so special. We aren't just reflecting on the past, we're honoring those who stood beside us, those who never made it home, and those who went above and beyond. But tonight is also a call to action. Brevard County is home to nearly 70,000 veterans. Right? Men and women who served our country, yet only a fraction, maybe 2%, are members of the DAV. DAV, we're more than an organization. Right? It's a family. It's a support system and an advocate for veterans in need. With your help, we can grow that number. We can assure that veterans in this community know they are not alone, that they have a place to turn for assistance, and that their services will never be forgotten. Each of you here tonight has a role to play, whether it's reaching out to a fellow veteran, encouraging someone to join the DAV, or simply sharing your own story. Your actions can make a real difference in their lives. I am honored to stand before you tonight, not just as a Vietnam veteran, but someone who has dedicated his life to serving veterans. I want to thank you, City of Melbourne, City of wherever you came from here, for showing up tonight, right? To honor those Vietnam veterans who sacrificed. Many of us remember that those who fought beside us, may we continue to honor their courage. May we continue to stand together and ensure that no veteran is ever forgotten. Unfortunately, I think little over 300,000 Vietnam veterans have died since the end of the war due to one single thing: exposure to Agent Orange. That caused their heart conditions, their diabetes, their cancers. Right? Think about it, 300,000 just from one incident, the spraying of a chemical. Right? So, and unfortunately, they didn't learn their lesson about burn pits and other things. And we lose, the worst statistic of all, that we lose 21 veterans a day to suicide. To suicide. Right? So again, thank you for being here. Thank you, Commander, and your chapter members for doing such an outstanding job, getting the word out, getting this crowd here. Thank you all who showed up here. And the thing I will take away from here more than any is a man that, one second. is at the table I'm sitting at. Someone who deserves all your recognition, sitting right there, former prisoner of war, Michael Lane. Can you imagine what they endured, right, during their captivity in Vietnam? And you're familiar with all these Hiltons on the beach and Hiltons in the city, but no one ever wanted to go to the Hanoi Hilton. Right? No one. And one last comment. You think, well, what happened to me? Look what happened to me. Poor me. Right? I was wounded. Everybody tells me, the doctors I saw over the years, it's a severe wound, severe wounds, severe wounds. And you think you have it bad until you meet someone worse. And I thought I had it bad until I started hunting with two DAV past national commanders, both Vietnam veterans, both triple amputees, and one with Mr. Joyner's in the back. So meeting them, my wounds, I consider them minor.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Commander.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, Andrew Marshall. Sam Elliott don't have nothing on the DAV. Just let me tell you that right now.